People of God, beloved of the Most High, hear the sound. It is not the sound of comfort or ease. It is the sound of a calling, the sound of the ancient path, the sound of a price paid in blood, a love so radical it turned the cross, a Roman tool of death, into the very gateway of life. We live in a world that shouts about freedom, but knows nothing of sacrifice, that praises love, but fears its cost. But there is a divine truth hidden from the eyes of the casual, revealed only to those who dare to walk the narrow way. Love costs everything, and so does life. Love is not safe, because it was never meant to be. It is not wrapped in soft emotions or fleeting feelings. True love bleeds, it lays itself down, it chooses the cross over comfort, surrender over survival. It is not the love the world sings about in romantic songs, or the kind sold in movies with happy endings. No, this love is divine, dangerous, demanding. It does not ask for part of you, it requires all of you. When Jesus set his face toward Jerusalem, he did not walk toward applause, he walked toward agony. Not for a people who loved him back, but for those who would betray him, mock him, spit on him, crucify him, and still he loved, still he gave, still he did not turn back. That is the love you are called to. A love that chooses the nails when it could call angels. A love that stays up through the night, praying for someone who might never change. A love that forgives again, and again, and again. This love does not wait to be loved in return. It does not withdraw when wounded. It does not count the cost it pays it. And you, child of God, are not called to a love that is convenient, but to one that is cruciform. You are not called to play it safe, but to pour yourself out. Love will leave scars, but in those scars you will reflect the one who was pierced for you, because love that never hurts is love that never heals, and love that costs nothing is worth nothing. Life was never meant to be preserved like a treasure stored away in a vault. It was meant to be spent, poured out like a drink offering on the altar of eternity. The world tells you to protect it, to secure it, to build walls around it so nothing can touch it. But the kingdom speaks a deeper truth. Life is not a possession to hoard, but a gift to give. The Messiah did not come to live a long, safe, quiet life. He came to pour himself out. Every breath, every step, every drop of blood spilled was intentional. His life was not taken, it was given, and so must yours be. You were not created to cling to your days in fear. You were not called to survive, you were called to surrender. The seed that refuses to fall to the ground remains alone, but the one that dies multiplies. The miracle is in the pouring. Pour yourself into the call, pour yourself into broken people, pour yourself into the mission even when no one sees, even when no one thanks you, because real life isn't measured in years, it's measured in impact. 1,000 preserved years mean nothing in eternity, but one pour. Doubt life can shake nations, so let your life be like oil broken and spilled. Let it run over altars, let it drench the feet of the Master. Let it saturate dry ground until dead things rise again. Don't save your strength, spend it. Don't protect your heart, offer it. For in the very act of giving your life away, you will find what it truly means to live. The cross is not a symbol to be admired. It is a summons to be answered. It is not a piece of jewelry to wear around your neck. It is a declaration of war against everything in you that wants to live for yourself. It is not just the place where Jesus died. It is the place where you are called to die. For too long, we've treated the cross as an emblem of comfort, a decoration on buildings, a logo for faith. But in the days of Rome, the cross was feared. It was shameful, brutal, bloody. When Christ spoke of taking up the cross, the people did not hear poetry. They heard the footsteps of execution. And that's exactly what he meant. The cross is not for spectators. It calls to the doers the soul, doubt the surrendered. It doesn't ask for Sunday mornings. It demands every morning. The cross is not a place you visit. It is a path you walk. Every decision, every sacrifice, every surrender echoes with its cry, "Come and die so you may live." It summons you to leave behind the shallow gospel of self-love, self-promotion, self-preservation, and instead take up the gospel of blood and fire and glory. It is the place where your will ends and his begins, where your dreams are laid down and his destiny is raised up, where your comfort is crucified and your calling comes alive. To follow the Lamb is to walk where he walked up Calvary, carrying wood, forsaking applause, misunderstood by men, but known by heaven. You are not called to admire his cross, you are called to carry your own. Not once, not twice, but daily. This is not a suggestion. It is a summons, a calling from the throne of God to the deepest part of your soul. Will you answer it? Will you walk where few dare to walk? Because beyond the cross is resurrection, but there is no crown without the cross, no glory without the grave, no life without the death. So pick up your cross, not as a burden, but as a banner, not as a weight, but as a witness. For it is in dying with him that you will finally begin to live. Heaven's love is not logical, it is supernatural. It breaks the rules of this world, turns the wisdom of man into foolishness, and offends the mind to reach the heart. Earth says, love those who love you back. Heaven says, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who persecute you. Earth says, protect yourself. Heaven says, lay yourself down. When the Son of God was beaten, mocked, spit on, he didn't retaliate. He remained silent, like a lamb led to the slaughter. Why? Because love held him there, not the nails. Love, the world would have fought back. The world would have escaped. The world would have demanded justice. But heaven responded with mercy. It doesn't make sense that the King of Glory would leave his throne for rebels, that he would trade a crown of gold for a crown of thorns, that he would die the death of a criminal for people who didn't want him. But this is heaven's way. Heaven's love gives when there's no return. It forgives when there's no apology. It sacrifices when there's no reward. It runs toward the prodigal. It stays with the broken. It restores the unworthy. And when asked how many times to forgive, it doesn't count, it just continues. You won't find this love in textbooks. You won't find it celebrated in headlines. You won't find it trending, because it doesn't fit in this world's equations. It defies human logic, but it is the very heartbeat of God. And if you would follow him, you must love like him. You must lose to gain, die to live, give expecting nothing, serve expecting no spotlight. Forgive when everything in you screams revenge. Love with the love that confounds the world, because that kind of love, heaven's love, isn't just what saves others. It's what transforms you. The price of love is not paid in words, emotions, or good intentions. It is paid in tears, blood, and obedience. Love that is real will cost you something. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you pride. It will cost you your will. You cannot walk in divine love and remain unscathed, because true love doesn't just touch the heart, it pierces it. Look to Gethsemane. There, in the darkness, the Son of God wept, not because he was weak, but because love is weighty. He sweat drops of blood, not because he feared death, but because he knew that love meant saying yes when every part of him could have said no. The Father's will was the cup, and it was bitter, but love drank it anyway. Abraham climbed Mount Moriah, not with joy, but with agony. Isaac was the promise, the miracle, the son he waited 100 years to hold. And yet love for God required surrender. Tears must have fallen with every step. But love obeyed even when it didn't understand. Moses chose to be mistreated with the people of God rather than enjoy the fleeting pleasures of Egypt. That choice didn't come without struggle, without loss, without pain. But love moved him, not love for comfort, but for the calling, and love obeys. When you truly love, it will hurt. It will hurt to forgive those who wounded you. It will hurt to keep giving when you're exhausted. It will hurt to stay faithful when others walk away, and it will hurt to surrender your plans, your timing, your desires, simply because God said, this is the way, but know this, tears on the altar are never wasted. Obedience in the dark is never unseen, and the blood that love sheds, whether through heartbreak, sacrifice, or laying your life down, is not forgotten by heaven. This is the cost, this is the price, not a cheap, shallow love that feels good for a moment, but a fiery, holy love that will follow the Lamb wherever he goes, even when the path leads through thorns, even when the steps are soaked in sorrow, because when love is real, it obeys, it endures, and it bleeds if you want to truly live. Then you must die. This is the paradox of the kingdom, the mystery that confounds the proud and calls forth the surrendered. The world tells you to preserve your life, to chase after your dreams, to protect your name and build your brand. But Jesus speaks a deeper word, a harder word. He says, whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. To live in Christ is not an enhancement of the old life. It is the death of it. The grave is not optional. The cross is not symbolic. If you want to rise with him, you must also fall with him. The seed must fall into the earth and die, or it will remain alone. But if it dies, it will bear much fruit. Death is not destruction. It is transformation. You die to your pride, and you are raised in humility. You die to your selfish ambition, and you are raised in divine purpose. You die to your bitterness, and you rise in healing. You die to fear, and you rise in boldness. But none of this comes without a grave, and every resurrection is preceded by a burial. God is not calling you to improve yourself. He is calling you to crucify yourself. Not in some dramatic moment of martyrdom, but in the daily surrender of your will, your rights, your reputation, and your desires. It is in the secret choices, the silent sacrifices, the hidden yes, that no one sees, where death does its work, and life begins to rise. You may be clinging to things you think you cannot live without, but it is only when you let go that you will see what life was always meant to be. A life not ruled by self, but filled with spirit. A life not measured by what you keep, but by what you give away. This is not a message for the casual believer. This is for the disciple, the one who hears the call, picks up the cross, and walks toward the altar, not just once, but every single day. Because dying to self is not a moment, it's a lifestyle. And yet, this is the secret: the more you die, the more alive you become. The more you give up, the more you gain. The more you empty yourself, the more heaven fills you. So if you truly want to live, not just exist, not just survive, but live with fire, with power, with eternal purpose, then there is only one way: die, and let Christ live in you. Love that costs nothing is worth nothing. It may sound sweet, look good, even feel noble, but if it comes without sacrifice, it is hollow. True love is not proven in comfort. It is revealed in the crucible. It is not measured by how easy it is to give, but by what you are willing to lose. The love of God did not come cheap. It came through the agony of Gethsemane, the lashes of Roman whips, the iron nails of Calvary. It came through betrayal, blood, abandonment, and pain. Heaven did not send a greeting card, it sent its only Son. That is love with a price. So how can we call it love when it never inconveniences us? How can we claim to love with heaven's fire when we shrink from discomfort, when we choose ease over endurance, applause over obedience, self-preservation over self-sacrifice? Love that is only given when it's easy is not love. It is preference, it is sentiment, it is self. Love is tested when the feeling fades, when the reward is gone, when no one is watching. Will you still serve when you're tired? Will you still forgive when the wound is fresh? Will you still believe when the answer hasn't come? That is the price, and only those who pay it can truly say they have loved. God's love never waited for worthiness. It didn't withhold until we deserved it. It gave first, it gave fully, and it gave freely. But don't confuse free with cheap. Grace is free to receive, but it cost the giver everything. That is the model of love we are called to mirror. You are not called to a shallow love, not a love that gives up when it's hard, not a love that walks away when things get messy. You are called to a love that endures, that breaks, that gives when it hurts, and sacrifices when there is nothing left to gain. A love that bleeds, a love that bears burdens, a love that gives until heaven says, "Well done." If your love doesn't cost you time, comfort, tears, or reputation, then it's not the kind of love that changes lives. Because the love that transforms others is the love that first transforms you, and that only happens when you pay the price. So love deeply, love recklessly, love sacrificially. Because the only love that matters in eternity is the love that costs everything. The world is not starving for more entertainment, more noise, more distractions. It is dying for a love that is real and a life that is true. Beneath the surface of the smiles, the status updates, and the noise of culture is a silent cry, echoing from hearts that are empty, restless, wounded. People are desperate for something authentic, something unshakable, something that doesn't collapse when the storms come. What they are longing for is a love that doesn't walk away, and a life that doesn't fade when the lights go out. This generation has tasted shallow affection and counterfeit connection. It has seen the emptiness of pleasure without purpose. It has tried to define life by likes and love by lust, but the result has been despair. There is a famine, not of food but of meaning, not of water but of truth. And into that famine, God is raising up a remnant who will carry radical love and real life. Radical love is not love that simply tolerates. It transforms. It doesn't run when it's hard, it doesn't fold under pressure, and it doesn't quit when it's misunderstood. It stands firm. It bears burdens. It risks everything. It loves not because it is easy, but because it is holy. It is not love on the world's terms. It is love that comes from the cross, love that was born in blood, love that reaches to the deepest pit and pulls people into the light. And real life, true life, is not about existence. It is not found in status, wealth, or survival. It is found in surrender. It is found when your life is no longer your own, when your breath becomes a prayer, when your steps follow the Lamb, no matter the cost. Real life begins where the world says it ends, at the foot of the cross, and from there it rises, bold, unashamed, eternal. The world is watching the church, but not to see how polished our services are or how perfect our theology sounds. They are watching to see if we live differently, if we love when we are hated, if we give when we are empty, if we forgive when we are wounded. They are watching for a fire that can't be explained, a peace that can't be shaken, a joy that can't be stolen. You were not called to blend in, you were called to burn. You were not saved to sit, you were saved to shine. You carry the answer the world is dying for, but you must live it, you must become it. Let your life preach louder than your words. Let your love cut through the darkness like a sword, because the world is dying for what heaven has placed in you, and it's time for you to stop playing it safe. and start living as if eternity is real. Because it is, and the time is now, so I ask you today, what is your price? Will you pay it? Will you lose your life to find it? Will you love when it hurts, stand when it costs, burn when others go cold? Because the cross is not just where he died, it's where you must live. Choose the radical way, choose the narrow path, choose the cost, because that is where the glory is. Amen.